All right, let's share the screen and let's get started. Okay, so what we were dealing with yesterday is an object that if the owner, matzah is a davar shetzarach lahachriz alav. If you find something and you announce it, okay, v'lo ba'u haba'alim lakachta al yedei simanim, and the owner never showed up. Asur lo lihishtamesh bo litzarcho. Then you're not allowed to use the item for personal use. Afilu im hatashmishu litzorech ha'aveda. Even if the use is beneficial to the lost item. Ve'ein chashash shebeshimush tipased. And there's no concern that through the use, the item will be damaged. So you're not allowed to use things as long as you're considered to be the shomer over them to return them to their owner. Okay? Yeah. Now, obviously, the Gemara does talk about, let's say, finding an animal that, let's say, needs to be milked. So I think the halacha is that you have to mark down how much milk it's produced and what the value of that milk is before you consume it. Aval imotza, but you obviously are going to have to milk the animal because otherwise it could get damaged. Let's say the animal grows fleece and it needs to be shorn, right? So there are times when you're obligated to attend to the lost item if it's something that is perishable.
Would you be allowed to deduct your costs?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Aval imotza is a chayfetz shematzui liknoso. But if you find an object that is readily available in the marketplace, kagon talis tefillin sifrei kodesh, such as religious articles, a talis, a pair of tefillin, holy svarim, yashum demehem kama hadavar shava v'yirshom sikum hakesef b'pinkaso, then you should write down, get a valuation. It doesn't have to be a formal valuation, but get an estimate as far as how much this object is worth. Write it down. And then you could use it right away. In other words, once you've made the announcement and no one has shown up, you can use it right away. Since this is something that could be easily replaced. So in the event that the owner does show up, you can either return to him the object, assuming that it's of the same value. In other words, that your use did not in any way affect it. Or you can keep it for yourself and compensate him for the value that it was worth, and he can always buy another pair. Venira shehu hadin kishematza matzos bepesach yacholasos ke. Let's say a person finds matzahs on Pesach. You can probably do the same thing. Is that you found that there was a box of matzahs, of shmura matzahs, and you tried to find the owner, you can't find them. So you can use them and just write down their value. Some say that that's the halacha with any item that you find that could easily be replaced in the marketplace. It's readily available. Ein hamotze chayav lishmar hachefetz elo yachol lemochro laniach damav kenegdo. Some say that the owner, in that case, is not obligated to protect and watch over the object for any extended period of time, but rather you can sell it and to hold on to the cash value. O yirshom sikum hakesef b'pinkaso, or just write down what the value is. Now, where does this come from? He says, the Shulchan Aruch, he says, talks about finding geese and chickens. Shekol davar shetipulo meruba mischaro metapel behem gimel yamin. The Shulchan Aruch writes that it's going to cost you more to maintain those chickens and geese than it will to replace their value. So therefore, all you're obligated to do is if you find what do they call it, a gaggle or a group of a flock of geese. What is it? Gaggle of chickens, a gaggle of geese. And what do you call a group of chickens?
Chickens.
A group of chickens. A group of chickens. No, there's all the specific terms for different animals. Okay, or a group of chickens. You only have to attend to them for 3 days. Mikan va'elach mochran bebeistin. After that, you can sell them under the supervision of the Beis V'das haramasham shein tzarich Beis Din v'yochel l'shuman u'lekachtan ba'osam adamim. And the Rama is of the opinion that you don't even need a Beis Din. You can just estimate their value and write down the value. And the Sma, commenting on this, says, Shirot Salomar, Al Masha Kasav HaShulchan Aruch Sham Shemochran Bebeis Din, Dekoi Al Kol Makom Shehitiru Limkor. So he says that when the Shulchan Aruch says you can sell them in Beis Din, Dekoi Al Kol Makom Shehitiru Limkor. This is referring to places where the rabbis permit you to sell that, meaning that I guess it's something that's readily replaceable. He then cites the Igros Moshe, that im hadavar yadua yachol lashum levad v'im lav yesh lo lashum b'fnei shlosha anashim sheyodim laharicho mashavyo. If the estimate is easily knowable, it's not a pair of tefillin, it's a pair of, let's say, tzitzis. And everyone knows that a pair of tzitzis these days, what'll put you out $20-25, right? Then you can estimate it yourself. If, however, it's a pair of tefillin or something that requires a greater level of estimation, then you might need to do it in front of 3 people. He says, V'yesh la'ayin, kishemotza arba'as haminim, imatzi lasos kemot tefillin lashum demehem, o hasam ba'inan lachem ki de'isa b'simin tafresh nun gimel. What about a lulav in esrog? What if I find a lulav in esrog in the street? I can't find the owner. Am I allowed to take it for myself and just estimate the value? Can I fulfill the mitzvah with this arba minim? Maybe yeyush doesn't help, since at the time when I found it, the owner had not had yeyush. Ela im kein boru lo shaba olam hisyashu lifnei shabo liyado azay matzi latzeis behem biyam rishon v'matzam b'shar hayam v'chris below bo habolim yasakein. So he says, so the first day is going to be a problem unless you can ascertain with certainty that the owner had yeyush before you found them. But if you find them any other day where you don't need lachem, it doesn't have to belong to you, because you only need that the arba minim belong to you on the first day of Sukkot. On all subsequent days of Sukkot, you're allowed to borrow someone else's arba minim. Then you're allowed to. Okay, Venira. Okay.
Sorry, did you say that if you found it on any other day other than the first day, you're allowed to use it, but if you found it on just first day, you can't?
If you find it before Sukkot, right, and you want to use it on the first day, then there's going to be a problem using it on the first day. Why? Because it needs,
the original owner have actually given up hope that he would find it.
Right. Even if the owner gave up hope afterwards, you're still not something that you can be kona. He will have yeyush, but the question is, at the time that you found it, did the owner have yeyush or not? That's the question. By the way, I just read this halacha out of sequence. I thought we were on the first page. It turns out that we were on the last page of this packet. So let me just go back. So anyway, so that's the issue with the arba minim.
With the arba minim, we're saying that he has to give up, that he had to give up hope when you found it, as opposed to when you want to use it. Whereas in other places we say, if he's given up, we assume he's given up hope, that's why we can use it. Like there seems to be two demarcations of the time.
Right. Your point is valid. Remember, we said yeyush shalom midas lo havi yeyush. If a person has not yet discovered that the item of his is lost,
Right.
or if he's discovered that it's lost but has not yet given hope of retrieving it, so then that does not, you cannot acquire it. It's considered still be in the possession of the original owner. You can only acquire something by picking it up as if the original owner has given up hope of ever retrieving it. When I pick it up, if the owner has not yet given up hope of retrieving it or is not aware that it's lost, and many times the Gemara says he might not be aware it's lost because let's say it fell off his truck or off the top of his car or something like that.
Yeah.
So then picking it up at that point does not allow you to acquire it.
But by the first day of Sukkot, he lost it prior to Sukkot. He's obviously realized he's lost it, doesn't know where it is. One would think that he's not bought either another set of little.
Correct. Right.
So I mean, I understand why on the first day, if you picked it up before, why on the first day, you couldn't be fairly confident that the person is going to hope that he's going to have.
Right, right. So that's the reason, is that since you when you originally picked it up, you picked it up in its status when it didn't belong to you. Apparently, there's this difficulty in being able to acquire it even afterwards or use it even afterwards, because on the first day, it has to completely belong to you.
When you
first day.
pick it up, whether there was you or Shadon, you're saying, that's it. If there's not, you can never
Yeah.
use it.
So that seems, well, you could use it on all subsequent days, just not on the first day of
So there's
Sukkot.
something special because of the rice, like what's so.
So what,
I'm having a hard time
it
understanding.
could be, so he says, let's see, what does he say?
I know for the first day of Sukkot that it is important that you own your own rule of natural that day.
It's a mitzvah to rice on
That
the first
day,
Was.
like, if somebody asks if they can borrow it, it becomes a problem on the first day, whereas after the first day, it's not as problematic. But except for your wife, right? If your wife is broken.
Well, some people would say, yeah.
So, so his argument is that since it came into your possession in a forbidden way, meaning that it's not so much in a forbidden way, but in a way that you could not be kona, that you cannot acquire it. His contention is that even afterwards you can't acquire it, at least for the purposes of the mitzvah. That's the part that's a little bit unclear, because you're allowed to use any other item you're allowed to use, but when something needs to belong to you, apparently for the purposes of the mitzvah, you're not going to be able to be yotzei with it on the first day. And I don't have a full understanding as to why that should be, because why can't we say that the attitude of the owner is to actively gift it to you? Why can't we assume that he's saying, "Abi gesund, whoever finds it, let them enjoy it and have it."
So take it to Rosh Hashanah. Let's say you find a shofar.
A shofar doesn't have to belong to you in order to fulfill the mitzvah.
But if the person who's blowing the shofar doesn't own the shofar when
That's what I'm saying. The shofar doesn't have to belong to you.
What about the sound?
The shofar does not have to belong to you. There's a special mitzvah by the Arba Minim that it has to only on the first day of Sukkot, that it has to belong to you.
Because it belongs to you. There's no other mitzvah like this thing.
I'm trying to think.
What else would
I'm trying to think if there's any other mitzvah that's like this. Any consumable mitzvah, like a piece of matzah, also has.
But you don't have to own the matzah. You can sell it up.
What, a korban? Yeah, a korban would probably have to belong to you also.
So the korban pesach, if you find someone's sheep an hour before Yom Tov.
Right, could be. You wouldn't be allowed to use it as the korban pesach.
Find a wedding ring the day before the wedding, and you want to use that ring. Not use that ring.
If you anything that you need as a financial instrument, right. That's
Well, you would have to be the one to buy the ring, say.
That's right. If you found a wedding ring the day before the wedding, you want to use that.
Use it for your wedding, it was also the day, you know.
Right.
What you could do is, if you've already been machris, if you've already announced it and no one has come forward, you could sell the ring and write down the value
And use that.
and use the money to buy another ring.
On Sukkot, so we're on that topic here, I try to make a point of having a lot of secular people over, because it's a day where it's very, comfortable for them, and interesting. So I was gonna say, do I have to be extra careful? Or should I, maybe the first day, try to avoid that because it's back and forth, and keep in mind that I'm just, I'm giving this, but you're gonna give it back to me, and all the.
Yeah,
there's
as
a lot
long
of that. To
as
be able
long as
to-
the person knows, you say to him, in order to fulfill this mitzvah on the first day of Sukkot, the lulav and esrog has to belong to you. So I'm giving it to you, and I'm hoping that you'll give it back to me when you're done.
You might have to just say no afterwards. That's mine, buddy.
So, but there is actually something called matan almanas lahachzir. You could stipulate, according to many authorities, that I'm giving it to you for 5 minutes, and then it reverts back to me automatically. But it's better to do it this way, according to some poskim, because the question whether a matana manas lahachzir is a matana is not completely agreed upon in the Gemara. So therefore, it's best to say to him, "Here, it's yours. Enjoy it."
Or is it better just to avoid the whole situation? And
Oh, no. Come on, Ron. This is your life. You gotta help secular Jews. Yeah, so it's just a slight inconvenience. The difficulty will be if you're giving it to a minor. If you have a kid, that's the issue is giving a gift to a minor works because you have the das of the makne, you have the intent of the giver, the gifter. But a child, a minor, is considered to be not intelligent enough to have das, to have in mind to give it back. So if you give a gift to a minor and then ask for it back, it doesn't belong to you. So therefore, when you have your friends over, just make sure they don't have small kids.
Or have a toy set.
Or have a toy lulav and esrog for the kids. Okay.
Even if it's all kira, but there's no exception here. You're not. You have to take it to that degree, even if this, we're always working with people who are completely secular. That you have to make sure to give it back to you. And you give the little mess with.
Well, yeah, otherwise it won't belong to you anymore.
But if they're using it and it's yours, you're teaching them what to do.
Okay, so then you fulfill the mitzvah of chinuch. If you want them to fulfill the actual mitzvah, you give it to them as a gift. And say, it's a temporary gift. If you're fearful that they're not going to give it back. Okay, let's go back to the top of our packet. I sent out the packet last night, Barry. Sorry, maybe you didn't see it. I sent out the packet last night.
Yeah,
Okay, so let me make sure that I'm sharing the screen. Okay. Stop sharing. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Went out to everybody.
They're going to the wrong. What's that?
No, it went to the Choshen Mishpat group. I'll double check.
You have to pay your telephone bill, Barry. You have to pay your telephone bill.
Oh, look, you're right.
I didn't get any.
Barry's right. I wonder what happened here. Let's see.
Some Muslim daughters.
Oh, you know what? It says in my computer, it's there now,
Yeah,
I just
Now-
thought it was.
because I just opened my WhatsApp on my desktop. Okay, it just went out now. Sorry about that. All right. Shiur ha're'iyah shel aveda. She'asr lihisali mimena v'chayv b'hashavasa. How long? Like, let's say I'm riding by on my donkey, how long do I have to see the lost item before I'm obligated to stop, get off my donkey, and retrieve the item? Lamdu.
This already?
We had a comment about the distance.
We had a distance like 100 meters. We
Yeah.
were talking about yards and meters, 110.
We learned this when we were learning a previous sefer on the mitzvah of Hashavas Aveda. Didn't we?
We just did something
Well,
last
if this is about distance, we did it like we did it the other day.
Yeah, we talked about the distance.
We spoke about the distance from where you.
This might be time though, temporal.
Well, if it's time, it's different, but if it's, that's what I'm asking, if it's distance, then it's
Distance we talked about.
distance with.
Right. The distance that you have.
Between you and the other.
Yeah.
one.
Right. Like if your eyes are not so good, like. Yeah,
Right. How far away do you have to be from the item?
Right.
He says, Kisifka shor o yivcha. He says, when you encounter the ox of your enemy, ve'eze re'iyah sheyesh ba pigia. What does the word encounter mean? It means that you're in close proximity. Shehu midas orech shenikra ris. It is the distance of one ris. B'lashon rabotenu ulashita sarachna hu meya ve'esra meter. According to Rav Chaim Noah, it is 120 meters, and according to the Chazon Ish, it's 153.
We were.
One second.
comparing it to about the size of the book.
120 meters,
Yeah.
and according to the Chazon Ish, it's 153 centimeters. I don't know. He doesn't mean centimeters; it means meters.
Instead of meters.
So that's what,
Yeah.
it's about the size of a football field. I mean, it's
Yeah,
probably a little
we
bit
found
more
there's a
than
lot of
150.
typos in this sefer. So I don't know why he's repeating this, because this is already a page.
Paying attention.
I'm really proud of you.
Thank
That's
you.
great. Yeah.
I get it like a mitzvah note, a nachas note.
Gold star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put it on the bullet. Put up a bulletin board in here.
Wish
Yeah.
was listening.
Okay. Livdo ka'aveda mizman lizman. You have to check on the lost item from time to time. Kol zman shehamitzia biyad hamotzei. So long as it is in the possession of the person who found it. Lo rak chiyuve shmira yesh alav. Not only are you obligated to protect it from getting taken or protected from the elements, you have to check on it from time to time to make sure that it doesn't get in any way, that it's not spoiling or retarding in any way. So let's say, for example, you find woolen garments. Every 30 days, you have to air them out. Also check on them, make sure the moths are not getting to them. I found that when we moved to Toronto, we get a lot of moths in our closet. And you really
Get mothballs.
got to get mothballs. Never had that in LA. Never had the problem of moths. V'lo yana'areim ba'ofen sha'alu lavo lidei hefsid. But don't shake them so violently that they could get damaged. So if you find, let's say, what is it? What's that? The very delicate wool. What is a cashmere? Right? If you find cashmere, you got to be delicate with it. In other words, don't shake it in a violent way so that it stretches or anything like that, but you still have an obligation to air it out and to make sure that it's sealed properly so that the moths can't get to it. Okay. So that's,
LA had no moths.
I don't know, for some reason, the moths didn't attack our wool. During COVID, okay, like I didn't wear certain clothes for a really long time that were made out of wool, certain suits in the back of my closet. They're like half eaten, you know.
Man, oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, real holes. Yeah. And that's even after we put in mothballs. Yeah. We fed them well. Yeah, I don't know why.
There might be a little station or something there. I'm not.
It's a
I've never had that
spring
problem.
No?
No.
It's a spring gate. problem.
Springgate Boulevard. Oh, pesky moths. Okay. Next. Hamotzi mitzia sheyesh basimin b'makom sheruba mechalale Shabbos b'farhesia. If you find a lost object, even if it has a siman, in a place where most people, even if they're Jewish, but they're mechalale Shabbos publicly, Kegon b'shchuna sheruba chilonim muvhakim, which means like the majority are completely secular Jews, like you find it in Tel Aviv or something like that. Nira shedin hamitzia kemitzia shel akum umumar sheinu chayev lahachriz. So we don't like this halacha. We don't like this halacha. He's saying that you don't have an obligation to return it. So obviously this is this is the author's opinion. Remember when we learned the Shita of the Chazon Ish, the Chazon Ish felt that everyone today is a Tinok Shenishba, and you have an obligation to return it to them. I don't know why he doesn't quote the Chazon Ish over here. Boo, boo. Okay. Okay.
It can choose your commentaries, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. Not cool.
The
Okay.
email address, we think.
You know what? There may actually be an email address.
You can't have you
There's
can't have a
no internet.
smartphone. You don't have you can have a
No
smartphone.
email address.
You'll have to get a phone number, not an email address.
Let's see if
That's
Just the facts.
yeah.
I just have the table of contents here.
What's his name? Like the author?
His last name is Cohen.
That'll make it easy to find.
So he's apparently a zealot when it comes to these things.
Is this an opinion of it, or is he using a source here?
Well, he's using a source, but it's an outdated source, because remember we learned the Chazon Ish that says that nowadays people are Tinok Shenishba.
And a lot of the posts, but Moshe said the same thing also.
Yeah, but the Chazon Ish, we learned inside the Chazon Ish, like his language was so strong that this doesn't apply. Okay,
This is quite a recent publication as well.
it is, yeah.
Okay, so I think not full.
I guess people are selective, everyone has their Rebbe, right?
He said he's a Sephardi.
Yeah.
And what does the Rav Yosef hold on this? He has the same thing.
It's a good question.
Yeah, because maybe he.
I'm gonna try and find if there's a contact. I will. Maybe he has WhatsApp.
Yeah, sure. I'm an astronaut.
Oh, maybe.
That was a football.
Okay, we'll hold it here for today.
Boy,